We're 67, have 2.5 million saved and 40,000 in Social Security benefits. Can we live on 100,000 per year? This Yahoo Finance post is a very realistic question that a lot of retirees have to navigate. And it's essentially the question of how much can I realistically spend in retirement and not run out of money? So in this video, I'm going through a case study using their numbers to help you understand whether or not this is realistic. Now, according to the top comment on this article, PD1 says, "I guess I just don't think the same way as the financial planners who give convoluted answers to these questions." If I was asked this question, I would say yes, assuming normal spending habits, you could live quite comfortably with this amount of money and could possibly withdraw a bit more when needed. I don't need to pay a financial planner to tell me this. Well, PD1, the good news is I'm going to prove whether they can or cannot live on 100,000 per year. I'm going through a case study considering taxes, inflation, and variable expenses, all those messy things that make answers convoluted. And yes, you don't need to pay me to tell you this, but you can drop me a like or you can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. It's completely free and it helps me reach more retirees like you. Now, let's get into it. Hey everyone, I'm Alex Okagawa, partner and financial advisor here at 1 Degree Advisors, and I'm here to help you gain confidence in your retirement. So today I'm going to show you a real financial plan based on that Yahoo Finance article. Of course, I'll be taking liberties with some assumptions to try and make this as realistic as possible. And I'll get to the outcome pretty quickly, and make sure you stay towards the end because I'll show you some of the most common situations that derail your retirement, including something that you may not be thinking about. Now, first, let's quickly cover the facts that we're going to use in this plan. We're going to assume an IRA of $2.5 million and annual Social Security benefits of $40,000 a year. Again, this is based upon the article. And then based on the top comments response saying, if the 2.5 million drew no interest at all, they would deduct the 60,000 annual from it for 41 years. So I'm going to assume no growth on the investments, but let's just assume that Social Security benefits can grow by about 2% per year. I'll assume inflation of 3.7%, and that's the long-term average here in the United States. And then lastly, we'll assume they are residents of California and they live to a healthy age 95. So as we can see here, no, the plan is not successful. And the simple reason for that is things get more and more expensive over time. They need $100,000 now, but in 20 years, when they are age 87, remember they're 67 now, they no longer need to spend $100,000 to meet their lifestyle needs. They need almost $207,000 to meet their needs. And that's just the hidden danger of inflation in retirement. Now, again, I used a 0% rate of return on the $2.5 million. And as PD1 pointed out in the comment, in a real world situation, it will draw interest. So let's assume in the plan, they can at least earn some interest on their cash. And as you can see, it definitely improves the picture, but they still run out of money when they are age 90, 93. So we're still 2 years short of our goal of 95. And the reason for this is cash has historically lost its purchasing power to inflation over time. So for example, if they had $2.5 million, let's say 20 years ago in late 2003, and they put it in cash, they would have earned some interest, but also have lost significant purchasing power along the way. In other words, they would need roughly $4.2 million just to maintain the same purchasing power of $2.5 million 20 years ago, again in 2003. That again is the impact of inflation. And I don't know about you, but most retirees are not comfortable knowing that at the end of their lives, they won't have any portfolio money. People like to joke that on the day that they take their last breath, that they want their last check to bounce. But in reality, that doesn't create a whole lot of confidence. So what happens if we invest the money beyond cash? Now again, investment returns are by no way guaranteed, but let's just assume if we could earn a modest 6% average return over their lifetime, let's see how that might change the picture. And we can see immediately their plan is looking better. And remember, this is before any serious like tax planning or portfolio enhancements. And again, investment returns are by no way guaranteed, but I'd say a moderate 6% return does a good job of making their financial plan work. It allows them to continue with their same level of spending of about $100,000 per year while adjusting for inflation along the way. And remember real quick, this is a projection that's assuming a 3.7% annual inflation rate. So real quick math, if you have a 6% investment return, that means your real return is only about 2.3% per year. But the key here is that that's still enough for them for their plan to succeed. So while cash may seem safe over the long run, it can pose greater risk to your financial future than, let's just say, a well-diversified investment plan. Now, you might be looking at these projections, and if you have a good eye, you'll see that they end their life with around $2.5 million, roughly the same amount that they started with. And you might be saying to yourself, well, I certainly don't want to die with $2.5 million in my portfolio. I left a lot of money on the table that I could have enjoyed over my lifetime. But there are two things that you should know. Number one is that $2.5 million amount is adjusted for inflation. In other words, that $2.5 million is when Joe and Mary are age 95, which is 28 years later. So if we look at, well, what's the present value of $2.5 million in the future, that'd really be like having $920,000 today. Now, again, you might be thinking to yourself, well, I certainly don't need $920,000 at the end of my life either. And that may be true, but having what I call financial cushion in your financial plan is critical to ensure that you can maintain, your dignity and independence in retirement. And maintaining your dignity, independence in retirement is where number two comes in. The probability you'll have a long-term care health event. And this is according to the Administration for Community Living, but folks that turn age 65 today have almost a 70% chance of needing some type of long-term care services in the future. Women typically need care longer than men. It's usually about 3.7 years for women and roughly 2.2 years for men. But what does long-term care actually cost? And thankfully, there's a great tool out there that is free for everyone. So if you just Google Genworth cost of care, one of the first link that pulls up is the Genworth website. And so when you come in here, you can pop in your zip code to find the average cost of healthcare in your area. So my zip code is 92108 here at the office. So I'll put that in. And what's great is I can see that in my area, the average cost of monthly assisted living facility is about $5,500 per month. And then in addition, healthcare costs have typically outpaced inflation, and that's another factor to consider. So let's go back to the financial plan and see what happens when we incorporate a potential long-term care health event at the end of Joe's life. And for this purpose, I'm going to assume that it lasts about 3 years. And again, I'm going to assume that costs are about $5,500 a month. And those costs increase each year by about 5%, which again is a little bit more than inflation in the financial plan. So now let's go back to our financial plan, and then we'll turn on a scenario where long-term care is needed. What we can see here is that, the plan still looks pretty good. And that's primarily because they invested prudently, taking on enough risk to help ensure that their money lasted for their lifetime. Now, here's the thing that most people don't think about. Like, what would my financial plan look like if I actually spent more? The problem is, too often people get tunnel visioned on like what they think they need, and then they forget to ask, well, how much could I actually spend to live the life that I want? So here's the thing. If we go back to our original plan, let's turn off that long-term care health event, and let's just assume that they wanted to spend about $10,000 per month. That's about $120,000 per year. And remember, our original case study was they wanted to spend $100,000 per year. But let's see what that looks like with, again, $120,000 a year spending. And again, you can see the plan works well. But again, the other thing that I would want to stress test on is to say, well, what happens if they have a long-term care event with this additional spending? And you can see it definitely has an impact on the plan, but the plan is still, by these metrics, successful. So the question is, what could Joe and Heather do with an extra $20,000 per year? Maybe they don't spend it on themselves, but maybe they give it away to their church, or they give it to charity. Maybe they give some money to family to help them out. The key here is that they have more options. And this is when I get to have the fun conversations with clients, when I get to show them, really what is possible. And this right here is the power of financial planning. It's not about pinching pennies and saving money by eating at home or riding your bike to work just to save on gas. It's about understanding what you want to accomplish and having the confidence that you'll get there. So yes, by all accounts, Joe and Mary are fictitious characters from the Yahoo Finance article, would be just fine with prudent management of their finances. But it's not as simple as putting your money under the mattress and then just drawing it down for the rest of your life. You can have the best investment strategies, tax strategies, income strategies for your specific retirement, but it will be useless if you haven't stress tested your plan. And again, one of the major stress tests that we talked about today was, what would happen to their finances, in this case to Joe and Heather's, if they were to have a major health event. But long-term care insurance can be extremely costly. And so that's why we made a video that you need to watch about whether long-term care insurance is worth the additional cost for you. You can watch that video above. Once again, this is Alex Okugawa with 1 Degree Advisors. If you're interested in learning how we can help you gain confidence in your retirement, visit our website at www.onedegreeadvisors.com.